Listen to me now, believe me later on. Okay, let's start right there.
That's a heavy way to open.
It is. It's a phrase that just hooks you instantly, doesn't it? It feels less like, a catchy slogan and more like a premonition.
Or a warning. It definitely sets a very specific tone.
Yeah.
It implies that the speaker knows something that the rest of us don't.
Exactly.
Or at least that he's seeing a future that hasn't quite arrived for the listener yet. It's a demand for attention, but it's also a plea for validation down the line.
A plea for future validation. That's a great way to put it. And welcome back, everyone, to the Deep Dive. Today, we are doing something a little bit different.
A lot different, I'd say.
Yeah, you're right. Usually, we're parsing through, stacks of articles, polished biographies, or scientific studies. But today, our source material is raw.
That's the perfect word for it.
I mean, it's gritty, unfiltered, and honestly pretty chaotic. We are looking at a stack of transcripts from a YouTube channel. It's run by a man named Tyler Shaw. He goes by T. Shaw, or the moniker that really defines this entire conversation for us, Unfadable.
And raw is exactly right. This isn't some retrospective memoir written from the safety of a beach house years later.
Not at all.
This is what we might call live documentation of survival. We are analyzing rap lyrics, spoken word poetry, stream of consciousness rants, and what essentially amount to, surveillance logs kept by a man who believes he is at war.
And when you read through these transcripts, the vibe is immediate. It's a declaration of war. That is the energy. But here's where it gets really interesting and a little surreal.
Right.
This war isn't happening in Gotham City. It's not some sci-fi dystopia. It is taking place in Dixon, Illinois.
And context is everything here. For those of you listening who might not be familiar with the geography of the Midwest, Dixon isn't exactly a hotbed of crime noir in the public imagination.
Not by a long shot.
It's known as the Petunia capital of Illinois. It's Ronald Reagan's boyhood home. It represents a very, very specific slice of wholesome Americana.
That's the image, right? Parades and cornfields. But the picture painted in these sources is radically different. Shaw describes cornfields shadowed in gold, which sounds beautiful at first.
Yes, does, but there's a menace to it in his context.
There is. You keep reading and he talks about small town big secrets and alleys that tell a tale. It's like he's taken this Norman Rockwell painting and shined a black light on it to reveal all the grime underneath.
It creates this noir-like atmosphere. You have this central tension between that pastoral setting, the cornfields, and what Shaw calls the Dixon dark side. And standing right in the center of that tension is Tyler Shaw.
Yeah.
He frames himself not just as a resident, but as a lone combatant, a single man against the system.
The Dixon dark side. Now, I have to be the skeptic for a second here.
Please do.
It sounds like a comic book villain organization. It sounds incredibly dramatic. But as we dig into the text, he's not talking about supervillains with capes.
No, he's talking about something much more grounded and, frankly, more terrifying. He's alleging a complex web of corruption, betrayal, surveillance, and a town that has completely turned its back on justice.
That's the crux of it. To him, the dark side isn't fiction. It's a lived reality of a shadow government, of police corruption, and neighbors turning on neighbors. So our mission today is to decode the man who claims he is unfadable.
We really need to figure out who he was, because he wasn't always this hardened figure, and try to understand the conflict he's so deeply embroiled in.
We're going to look at the man he was, the factory supervisor, the coach. We're going to look at the conflict itself, where he's calling out an entire town's leadership by name.
Which is, either incredibly brave or incredibly reckless, or maybe both.
Maybe both, yeah. And we need to look at the philosophy behind it all, because for a guy shouting about war and betrayal, he talks a surprising amount about doing what is right when everyone else is allegedly wrong.
And that's his...
He says, unfadable soul, unbreakable core. You can lock the body, but the mind going to soar.
And that line is so critical. That's a classic philosophical separation of mind and body. He is acknowledging his physical vulnerability.
He's not pretending to be Superman.
Not at all. He talks about prison, he talks about physical attacks, he knows his body can be locked up, it can be harmed, but he is claiming that his essence, his soul and his core is beyond the reach of his enemies. It's a profound act of defiance.
He also draws this really sharp line in the sand between himself and everyone else. He says, some people fold when it's heavy. Me, I was built for this.
Built for this.
That phrase implies a specific design, doesn't it? Like, he was engineered for this specific struggle that he's in right now.
It does, but the fascinating part, and this gets to the man he was aspect we need to explore, is that he wasn't born a warrior. The sources give us these glimpses of a past life that stands in stark contrast to the guy we hear now. Before the war, before the paranoia, he was deeply integrated into the very system he now fights.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Because he wasn't always an outcast shouting from the margins. He talks about being a supervisor. He describes watching the clock and holding a clipboard on a factory floor.
Walk the floor, telling folks what to do. That's a position of authority, sure, but it's also a position of conformity.
In what way?
Well, he was a cog in the machine. A valued one, maybe, but still a part of the established order. He was playing by the rules of society, get a job, work hard, get promoted, supervise the line. It's the path you're supposed to take.
And even more significantly, he was Coach Shaw. This part really struck me. He mentions coaching for 13 years, mentoring youth. He identifies himself as your kid's favorite coach.
And you have to think about the social capital that comes with that. In a small town like Dixon, the youth coach is a pillar of the community.
Absolutely.
Parents trust you with their children. You are shaping the next generation. You're teaching them teamwork, discipline, how to stand, how to have sportsmanship.
So to go from your kid's favorite coach to a man who feels he's being hunted by that same town.
It's a massive fall from grace. Or, from his perspective, a massive displacement. A total reordering of his world.
So what was the trigger? What was the catalyst for that change? How do you go from the clipboard and the coach's whistle to the manifesto? The sources describe it as him trading the supervisor badge for the mission.
The text points to incarceration as the crucible. It's the event that seems to cleave his life into a before and an after.
He references it quite a bit. Did my bit, he says.
He does. He talks about 13 years of service in one context, which is an interesting way to phrase it, but then also mentions that he thought that cage would break my spirit. So there's this acknowledgement of the immense pressure he was under.
But here's the twist that I think defines his current mindset, his entire unfadable persona.
Hold on.
Usually people hide their prison time, or they view it as a period of lost time, a source of shame. Shaw reframes it completely.
He absolutely does. He says he came home sharper than I ever been.
Sharper? Not broken, not defeated, sharper.
This is a psychological restructuring of trauma. It's a powerful cognitive tool. He doesn't view prison as the place where he lost his status as Coach Shaw. He views it as the forge. It's the place where he became unfadable.
He even says he was forged in a storm.
Forged in a storm, while his enemies, he claims, stayed in the safe.
And that's a powerful burn, isn't it? You guys stayed safe. He's basically telling the people of Dixon, the people in power, you have no moral authority because you haven't suffered. You don't know what real pressure is.
Exactly. It's a strategy of ethos building. He is arguing that his suffering has given him a moral and physical durability that the soft people of Dixon lack. They buckle under pressure. He was built for this.
He weaponizes his trauma.
That's the perfect phrase for it. Every scar on my body, every cut that can heal. He wears his history like a suit of armor. And he doesn't just mention it, he inventories it. He wants you to see the damage because to him, the damage is proof of his strength.
And he believes he needs that armor. Because the world he describes stepping back into after his incarceration isn't the friendly town he left.
Not even close.
It's a battlefield. And this brings us right to section 2. The micro-conflict. This isn't just about abstract systemic issues. This becomes deeply, deeply personal.
The atmosphere in the transcripts is just suffocating. If you read Hacked by T. Shaw or Dixon Snitchin' at its finest, it really does read like a thriller. The paranoia, and I use that word descriptively to capture his state of mind, not judgmentally, is intense.
It's palpable. You can feel it coming off the page. He talks about surveillance on my soul. Not just his phone or his car, his soul.
That's a profound statement on the level of intrusion he feels. It suggests a violation that goes beyond the physical, into the metaphysical.
But what really hit me, what made it feel so grounded and painful, was the way he talks about friendship. He uses this metaphor.
The salt and sugar.
Yeah, salt and sugar look the same.
It's a brilliant, simple, and devastating metaphor. Visually, you can't tell them apart. They're both small white crystals. But if you trust the salt thinking it's sugar, you get burned. The result is immediate and unpleasant.
And that's his world now. He's describing a reality where betrayal is camouflaged as kindness. He says, I treated you like a brother, but you betrayed me like the others.
That line suggests a pattern. It's not one person who let him down, it's the others. It implies a long history of being let down by people he trusted implicitly.
And that line, eating off my plate when you already ate,
Ooh.
That suggests a different kind of betrayal. It suggests greed, right? It's not just that they stabbed him in the back, it's that they were taking from him when they didn't even need to. It's a violation born of pure want, not need.
It paints a picture of people who are not just treacherous, but also insatiable. And it creates a profound sense of isolation for him. If you can't tell salt from sugar, you eventually stop eating.
Or you taste everything with extreme caution.
Exactly. If you can't tell a friend from a snitch, as he calls them, you stop trusting. This isn't just him being difficult, it's a survival response to what he perceives as an incredibly treacherous environment.
And he believes that treachery extends beyond personal relationships into his digital life. We have to talk about the hacking saga.
We do.
Because this isn't just someone guessed my password. He alleges a 6-month coordinated, sustained attack on his entire digital identity.
And he is meticulous about the details here, which is interesting. A lot of times you hear these vague conspiracy theories that lack specifics. Shaw does the opposite. He lists his receipts.
He does. He mentions visiting Verizon, the Apple Store, T-Mobile. He talks about seeing Google alerts telling him your account's been touched.
He's trying to build a case. He's trying to prove he's not crazy, that this is real and documented. He's saying, look, I went to the store. The corporations themselves are telling me this is happening. I have the alerts.
And what was the point of it, in his view?
He frames this not as simple data theft, but as psychological warfare. He mentions fake DMs, little mind games, and messages from a John Train clown. He believes the goal was to destabilize him mentally.
To make him question his own sanity.
Exactly. To make him think he's losing his mind so that when he speaks out, no one will believe him. They'll just say, oh, that's just Keyshaw. He's paranoid.
But his response is pure unfadable. He says, I don't break, I just upgrade.
Again, turning the attack into a source of strength. You tried to break my mind, but you just made it stronger. It's his core thesis.
But it didn't stay on the phone. This is where it gets really, really scary. The sources describe a physical altercation that sounds terrifying. The incident with Vern and Justin.
This is where the conflict becomes visceral. It moves from the digital to the physical. In the source, Hacked by T-Shaw Unfadable, he recounts a story where he goes to a house knocking on a door to try and make peace.
Which is an interesting detail. He claims he was the one trying to de-escalate.
Right. But instead of peace, he says Vern appears with a pistol trying to play pretend.
Play pretend? That implies he didn't think it was real or that Vern was just posturing.
It's hard to say for sure, but the threat is clear. And then, according to Shaw, Justin attacks from behind, creeps up, swinging.
A sucker punch.
A sucker punch. And it escalates from there. Justin's girl allegedly grabs a hammer.
A hammer. I mean, we have to pause on that. A pistol is one thing. It's almost clean in a horrifying way. A hammer is something else. It's brutal, it's messy, it's medieval.
It's personal. And she was threatening to blow, he says. It's a scene of complete and utter chaos.
So what happens next? What's the aftermath?
And this is the absolute key to understanding Shaw's entire worldview. He says the police got involved, but, and this is his claim, Vern allegedly tells the cops his own rules.
Meaning the cops listen to Vern, not him.
That's his allegation. That even in a situation where he claims he was the victim of a multi-person assault involving a firearm and a hammer, the system, the dark side, aligns against him.
So this one incident becomes a microcosm for his entire struggle.
It confirms his belief that there is no justice for him in Dixon. The rules don't apply to him in the same way.
And that leads us directly into the macro conflict, Section 3. Because if the cops on the street are siding with the guys attacking him, then in his mind, the whole town has to be rotten from the top down. Let's talk about the Dixon dark side.
This is the shadow government he alludes to. It's not one bad cop or one corrupt official. In his telling, it's a pervasive network involving city officials, police, and the judicial system. And he starts with a very disturbing concept, the family tree.
The family tree of criminal informants. That's a chilling phrase. He's basically saying that snitching, as he calls it, isn't just an act. It's a hereditary trait in Dixon.
He's arguing it's cultural. It's passed down from generation to generation. He alleges that loyalty is dead. He talks about mothers on 2nd Street calling the police on their own community. He describes a culture where the community polices itself in the worst possible way by betraying each other to the authorities for, presumably, some kind of personal gain or leniency.
Now, a listener might be thinking, okay, this sounds like a massive conspiracy theory. It sounds far-fetched.
It's a natural reaction.
And this is where Shaw plays his ace card. This is his anchor to reality. He brings up Rita Crundwell.
This is his anchor of credibility. For anyone listening who doesn't know the story, it's absolutely mind-boggling. Rita Crunwell was the comptroller of Dixon. She stole $53 million from the city.
$3 million.
It's over 2 decades. All to fund a lavish lifestyle and a world championship level horse breeding empire. It is the largest municipal fraud in U.S. history, and it happened in this small, sleepy town.
And she did it while everyone watched. She was buying multi-million-dollar tour buses and championship horses while the city couldn't afford to pave the roads or pay its bills.
So Shaw points to her and says, essentially, you think I'm crazy. You think corruption this deep is impossible here. Look at her. He mentions her reaping the gold. If she could steal $53 million in plain sight for 20 years, what else is this town capable of hiding?
It's a powerful point. It lends a certain plausibility to his other claims.
It does. It moves them from the realm of the impossible to the realm of the, well, at least conceivable.
But he has a specific theory about the aftermath of the Crunwell scandal, doesn't he? He doesn't think it just ended with her arrest.
No, he alleges a cover-up. He claims that property was supposedly flipped in her family's tag, so the town couldn't recover the money. He's saying that the corruption didn't end with her. It continued into the recovery flows to protect her assets. He believes the system protects its own, even when they are convicted criminals.
He's arguing the dark side is a self-preservation society.
That's a good way to put it. And he extends this logic directly to the police and the courts. This drug court scheme he describes is, I mean, honestly, it's chilling if it's even partially true.
It's a very specific and damning allegation. He claims that drug court kids, so these are vulnerable people trying to get clean and avoid serious prison time, are forced to sing that song.
Meaning they are coerced into becoming informants.
Yes. The system offers them a way out, but the price is betrayal. They have to snitch on other people in the community.
And if they don't, if they refuse to play ball.
He says they face being fish food in the deep.
Wow.
I mean, that's a heavy, heavy implication. It suggests that the judicial system, the very thing meant to provide justice and rehabilitation, is actually just a recruitment center for snitches.
And he calls out the hypocrisy of the people running it. This is another key part of his argument.
He claims cops are busting deals at night, but the next week are OD in the broad daylight. He's painting a picture of total moral collapse. The enforcers are the users. The people setting the rules are the ones breaking them most flagrantly.
And he gets even more specific. There's one allegation that's just. It's brutal. He mentions a specific police chief knocking up a girl underage and then forcing the family to move to cover it up.
And
he still keeps his pension.
He keeps his pension. That's the sting. It's always about the lack of consequences for the powerful versus the severe, life-altering consequences for the powerless, like the drug court kids.
And then he names them.
Yeah, he names them. Garrick McKenzie, Julie Castle, Bobby Young, Brian Kelly, Rocky Coe, Aaron Shaw. He is calling them out publicly, by name, in his music, putting it on the record forever.
Which is, again, incredibly risky. But it aligns with his mission. He's not just whispering about corruption. He is shouting it from the rooftops and attaching names and faces to it. He's trying to drag the dark side into the light.
And he scales it up. He doesn't just keep it local. He compares the situation in Dixon to P. Diddy, Jeff Epstein type stuff.
Which is a huge leap. But what he's doing there rhetorically is he's elevating his struggle. He's saying this isn't just some petty small town corruption. It's a local manifestation of a universal evil that you, the listener, already recognize and revile.
He's making his personal war a battle in a much larger global one.
He is. He's framing himself not just as a guy fighting a speeding ticket. He's a warrior fighting a global archetype of corruption and abuse.
But, and this is the pivot that makes him so complex and, frankly, human. Section 4. The man behind the mic. Amidst all this war talk, all this talk of corruption and surveillance,
we find out he's a single dad.
Yeah. And this is the single parent narrative. It grounds the entire epic struggle. He shifts from the grand conspiracy to the kitchen light, a single bulb.
That's such a powerful image, the single bulb. It speaks to poverty, to loneliness, to just barely getting by.
And paper plates on the counter.
Yeah.
Those paper plates, it's such a specific detail of struggle. It's the image of a man just trying to get through the day, feed his kids, and keep going with no energy left for dishes.
It completely reframes his fight. Suddenly, it's not just about his own name or his own freedom. It's about what kind of world he's raising his child in.
He asks, Who will tell my story when I'm not around?
And that's the fear, isn't it? That's the engine for all of this documentation. He's terrified that if something happens to him, the dark side will write his history. They'll paint him as the villain.
So he's recording his own history, his own deep dive for his children.
He is. He wants to leave a legacy of truth for them. And the tribute he gives to his 5 kids in the Source Remastered is just. It's incredibly moving.
He really breaks it down one by one. It's so personal. Darius, the oldest, the leader. Odin, the middle child with the sorrow gold heart. What a description.
It is. Aspen, the clever queen, who he says he's most proud of. Aiden, the tiny giant with the athletic heart. And Zariah, the youngest star.
He sees them so clearly. It's a moment of pure, unadulterated love in the middle of a war zone.
It is. But he also admits to a flaw in his parenting, a regret.
Right.
And it's tied directly to his unfadable persona.
Right. He says, one thing I regret is that we didn't talk very much about our feelings. You always had to suck it up.
You always had to suck it up. Think about that. That's the mantra of someone who's surviving, who's in a fight. You can't show weakness. You have to be hard.
So that's the tragedy of the unfadable persona, isn't it? To survive the war, he had to be hard. He had to be built for this. But being hard makes it difficult to be soft with your own kids.
He realizes that. He realizes that the armor he wore to protect them might have inadvertently kept him distant from them. It's aggression is the armor he wears to protect the soft core, the father who believes in love and kindness. He's doing what he thinks is right, fighting the way he knows how, even when everyone else is allegedly wrong.
He's trying to change public opinion. He believes that one day people will look back at these transcripts, this music, and say, he was right all along.
It all comes back to the beginning. Listen to me now, believe me later on. He is betting his entire legacy on the future.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah.
what's the final verdict? I mean, what is the cost of being unfadable?
The cost is profound isolation. He says it himself. I talk to myself when I need a clue.
Yeah.
He may see himself as a king in every zip code, but he is alone in his kitchen with that single light bulb.
It's a lonely throne.
It's a very lonely throne, and it's physically dangerous. But he refuses to fold. He has that other great line, the opposite of courage is conformity.
And he will not conform.
He will not conform. He won't fade away. His ultimate goal isn't just winning a street fight or getting revenge. It's about new beginnings. It's about proving, maybe to himself as much as anyone, that you can lock the body but the mind going to soar.
So the final thought for you, the listener, as you process all of this, is Tyler Shaw a paranoid outcast shouting at the cornfields, lost in a labyrinth of his own making?
Or is he a prophetic whistleblower, the only one brave enough or perhaps desperate enough to tell the truth about the Dixon dark side?
That's the question. And as Shaw says, maybe you'll believe him later on.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for diving deep. We'll see you next time.